Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Starbound Endeavour, staring at the red warning lights that covered his control panel. The distress signal had been coming from the Kepler 442 system for 3 days now, and every alien species in the galaxy knew what that meant. Nothing good ever came from that cursed place. "Sir, we're getting close to the signal source," said Lieutenant Commander Lisa Campbell, her fingers dancing across the scanner controls. "The readings are dot strange." Jake walked over to look at her screen. The data made no sense. The signal was coming from the Void Harvester, the most dangerous ship in known space. Every pilot in the galaxy had heard the stories. The ship was built by the dead Zephyrian race as a mobile research station, but it had become something much worse. It was a floating death trap that had killed over 3,000 beings from 17 different species. "Are you sure about those readings?" Jake asked. "The signal is too strong to be coming from a dead ship." Lisa checked her instruments again. "The ship is definitely active, sir. Life support is running, engines are online, and there's even... Wait, this can't be right. What is it?" "The ship shows signs of active habitation. There are heat signatures, power consumption patterns, and, sir, I'm detecting gardens, growing plants inside the ship." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The Void Harvester was supposed to be empty. Every species that had ever tried to board it had died within hours. The ship's atmosphere was toxic, its gravity changed without warning, and its computer systems were designed to kill anything that moved. "Get me Commander Rodriguez," Jake ordered. "We need to send a team over there." Commander Alex Rodriguez was the best soldier on the ship. He had fought in 3 different wars and had never backed down from a fight. But even he looked nervous when Jake explained the situation. "The Void Harvester?" Alex said, his voice quiet. "Sir, are you sure we want to go over there? The stories about that ship... "I know the stories," Jake said. "But if someone is actually living on that ship, we need to help them. Or at least find out how they're still alive." Alex nodded slowly. "I'll take a full team. Environmental suits, heavy weapons, medical supplies. If someone is alive over there, they're going to need help." 2 hours later, Alex and his team of 6 soldiers approached the Void Harvester in their shuttle. The ship looked exactly like the pictures in the database. It was huge, black, and covered in strange symbols that seemed to move when you looked at them directly. The hull was made of a metal that absorbed light, making the ship look like a hole in space. "Landing bay is open," said the shuttle pilot. "But sir, the atmosphere readings are off the charts. Toxic levels that should kill anyone in minutes." "We're wearing suits," Alex said. "Just get us inside." The shuttle landed in a bay that was bigger than most buildings. The walls were covered in a slick, oily substance that reflected the shuttle's lights in strange ways. Alex and his team stepped out, their weapons ready. "Stay together," Alex ordered. "Don't touch anything unless you have to." They walked through corridors that seemed to pulse with their own heartbeat. The walls were covered in organic-looking growths that moved slightly when they passed. The air was thick with a green mist that made their environmental suits work overtime to keep them safe. "Sir," said Sergeant Bobby Martinez, pointing ahead, "do you see that?" Alex looked where Bobby was pointing and stopped dead. There was a garden growing in what used to be a weapons storage room. Real plants, green and healthy, growing in soil that should have been poison. And working in the garden was a man in simple clothes, no environmental suit, breathing the toxic air like it was fresh mountain breeze. The man looked up and saw them. He smiled and waved, then walked over to them without any fear. "Well, hello there," the man said, his voice clear and strong. "Haven't seen any visitors in a while. Welcome to the Void Harvester. I'm Danny Walsh, captain of this ship." Alex's team raised their weapons, but Alex held up a hand to stop them. You single quotes re dot dot? You're human? Sure am, Danny said. Born and raised on Earth, just like you folks, I'd guess. Though I've been living here for about 8 years now. 8 years? Alex couldn't believe what he was hearing. On this ship? How are you still alive? Danny laughed. It's a long story, but the short version is that this old ship isn't as dangerous as everyone thinks. You just have to know how to live with it. Speaking of which, you folks want to come meet the family? We've got about 250 people living here now. Alex felt his legs go weak. 250 people? Living on the Void Harvester? 247, to be exact, Danny said. We had some babies born here, and we lost a few folks over the years. But yeah, we've made this place our home. Danny led them through more corridors, past rooms that had been converted into living spaces. Alex saw children playing in areas that should have been death traps. He saw families eating dinner in rooms where the walls still oozed toxic substances. He saw old people sitting in chairs, reading books, completely comfortable in an environment that should have killed them. Instantly, how is this possible? Alex whispered to Bobby. I don't know, sir, Bobby replied, but they all look healthy. Happy, even. They reached a large room that had been turned into a community center. There were about 50 people there, all human, all looking completely normal. They were talking, laughing, and playing games. Children ran around while their parents watched, with smiles on their faces. Everyone, Danny called out. We've got some visitors from the outside. Let's make them feel welcome. The people gathered around Alex and his team. They were friendly and curious, asking questions about the outside world and offering food and drink. Alex noticed that many of them had small changes in their appearance. Their skin had a slightly different color, and their eyes seemed to adjust to the dim light better than normal. You've been living here for 8 years? Alex asked Danny. That's right, Danny said. We didn't have much choice at first. Pirates attacked our colony ship, and this was the only place we could find shelter. We expected to die within a few days. But humans are tough, and we figured out how to make it work. But the toxins, the gravity changes, the ship's defense systems, all real problems, Danny agreed, but not impossible to deal with. The toxins make you sick for a few weeks, but then your body gets used to them. The gravity changes follow a pattern once you learn to read it. And the ship's computer ... Well, it's not very smart. We've been slowly taking control of it. Alex looked around. The room had all the happy faces. These people had done something that every expert in the galaxy said was impossible. They had survived on the Void Harvester. More than that, they had made it their home. We need to contact our ship, Alex said. The galaxy needs to know about this, Danny nodded. I figured someone would find us eventually. Just remember, this is our home now. We're not looking to leave. As Alex and his team prepared to return to their shuttle, he couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen. Humans living and thriving in a place that was supposed to be certain death. Children playing in rooms that had killed thousands of other beings. A community that had turned the galaxy's most feared ship into a home. The galaxy was about to learn something new about humans. They didn't just survive in impossible places. They made those places better. 8 years earlier, Captain Danny Walsh had been having the worst day of his life. His colony ship, the New Horizon, was burning around him as pirate ships circled like hungry wolves. 300 families had trusted him to get them to their new home on the frontier. Now it looked like none of them would live to see another day. Sir, we're losing life support on decks 4 and 5, shouted Chief Engineer Katie Johnson from her station. Hull breaches on 6 different levels. We've got maybe 30 minutes before the whole ship comes apart. Danny gripped his captain's chair as another blast rocked the ship. The pirates had better weapons and faster ships. The New Horizon was just a transport vessel, built for carrying families and supplies, not for fighting. What about the escape pods? Danny asked. Half of them are damaged, Katie replied. The rest won't hold everyone. And even if they did, we're in the middle of nowhere. The nearest safe system is weeks away. Danny looked at his scanner display. There was only one ship in range, sitting dead in space near the edge of the system. According to the database, it was the Void Harvester. Every pilot in the galaxy knew to stay away from that ship. Katie, what do you know about the Void Harvester? Katie's face went pale. Sir, that ship is a death trap. No one has ever survived boarding it. The atmosphere is poison, the gravity systems are unstable, and the computer tries to kill anything that moves. How long would it take to get there? About 20 minutes with the engines we have left. But sir, that ship will kill us all. Danny looked around the bridge. His crew was scared, but they were still at their posts, still trying to save the ship. These were good people, brave people. They deserved a chance to live. Katie, how long can people survive on the Void Harvester? According to the reports, most species die within hours. The longest anyone has lasted was 3 days, and that was a Centauri military unit with full environmental gear. But no one has ever tried to actually live there, have they? Everyone goes in expecting to die, double quotes. Katie thought about it. You're right, sir. Every mission to that ship has been a rescue attempt or a salvage operation. Quick in and out missions. Danny made his decision. Set course for the Void Harvester. Send a message to all decks. We're going to board that ship and make it our temporary home until we can figure out something better. The evacuation was chaos. Families grabbed what they could carry and ran for the shuttle bays. Parents held crying children while older kids tried to be brave. Dr. Tony Martinez, the ship's doctor, worked frantically to move his medical supplies. Helen Carter, the mission's botanist, refused to leave without her seed samples. Those plants represent years of work, Helen argued as Danny tried to hurry her along. If we're going to survive on that ship, we'll need food sources. Fine, but hurry, Danny said. We've got 10 minutes before the New Horizon breaks apart. The boarding process was terrifying. The Void Harvester's docking bay was huge and dark, filled with a green mist that made everyone cough. The gravity was wrong, making it hard to walk normally. The walls seemed to move in the corner of your eye. Stay together, Danny ordered. No one goes off alone. We need to find a safe area and set up a temporary camp. Chief Engineer Katie Johnson was already studying the ship's systems with her portable scanner. The good news is that life support is running. The bad news is that the air is full of toxins that would kill most species in about 6 hours. What about humans? Asked Dr. Martinez. I don't know, Katie admitted. Humans have never been tested on this ship, but our biology is different from most species. We might last longer. They found a large cargo bay that seemed less dangerous than the rest of the ship. Katie managed to get the lights working and even found a way to reduce the toxic levels in the air. It was still dangerous, but it was breathable. The first few days were horrible. Everyone got sick from the poisoned air. People threw up, got fevers, and felt weak. Dr. Martinez worked around the clock, treating symptoms and trying to keep everyone alive. We're going to die here, said one of the colonists, a man named Frank, who had been complaining since they boarded. Double quotes, no, we're not, Danny said firmly. We're going to get through this. Humans are tougher than most species think. By the end of the first week, something amazing happened. People started feeling better. The sickness passed, and their bodies began to adjust to the toxic air. Dr. Martinez couldn't explain it, but humans seemed to be developing a resistance to the ship's poisons. It's like our immune systems are adapting. he told Danny. "I've never seen anything like it." Katie made another discovery. The ship's computer system, which everyone called the Reaper Protocol, was designed to kill intruders quickly. But it was having trouble with the humans because they weren't acting like intruders. They were acting like they belonged there. The system is confused, Katie explained. It's programmed to eliminate threats, but we're not threatening anything. We're just living here. The computer doesn't know what to do with us. The children adapted fastest of all. Peter Clark, a 16-year-old who had been studying to be an engineer, figured out how to navigate the ship's changing gravity fields. He taught the other kids how to move safely through areas that should have been impossible to cross. "It's like a game," Peter told Danny. "You just have to learn the patterns. The gravity shifts every 4 hours, but it follows the same sequence." Helen Carter had her own breakthrough. She discovered that Earth plants could actually grow in the ship's toxic soil. The poisons that killed other species seemed to act like fertilizer for Earth vegetation. "Look at this," Helen said, showing Danny a small garden she had started in what used to be a weapons storage room. "These tomatoes are growing faster than they ever did on Earth, and they're completely safe to eat." Chris Baker, who had been the New Horizons navigation officer, was working on an even bigger problem. He was trying to understand the ship's computer system so they could take control of it. "The Reaper Protocol has one major weakness," Chris explained to Danny. "It can't understand why anyone would want to stay here. Every other species that has boarded this ship was trying to leave as quickly as possible. But we're not leaving. We're making ourselves at home. The computer keeps running diagnostic tests because it can't figure out why we're not dead yet. Can you use that confusion to our advantage? I think so. Every time the computer runs a diagnostic, it creates a small gap in its security. I've been using those gaps to slowly take control of ship systems. It's taking time, but I think I can eventually give us full control." As the months passed, the human colony grew stronger. They learned to read the ship's patterns and avoid its dangers. They turned deadly rooms into living spaces. They used the ship's own systems to protect themselves from outside threats. The children who had been babies when they arrived started walking in the ship's strange gravity as if it were normal. The teenagers like Peter became experts at navigating the ship's most dangerous areas. The adults found ways to use the ship's weapons and defenses for peaceful purposes. "We're not just surviving," Danny told Katie one day as they watched children playing in what used to be a torture chamber. "We're thriving. This ship is becoming our home." "The galaxy isn't going to believe this," Katie said. "Humans living on the Void Harvester, making families here, raising children here. Let them be surprised," Danny said. "We've proven that humans can make a home anywhere, even in a place that was designed to kill us." Dr. Martinez had been studying the colonists and found that they were all changing in small ways. Their bodies were adapting to the ship's environment, becoming stronger and more resistant to toxins. The children born on the ship were even more adapted than their parents. "We're becoming something new," he told Danny. "Still human, but changed by this place. Our children will be able to live in environments that would kill us." As the years passed, the colony grew and changed. They established their own government, their own traditions, their own way of life. The Void Harvester was no longer a death ship. It was home to nearly 250 humans who had learned to turn death into life. They had done something that every expert in the galaxy said was impossible. They had tamed the untamable ship and made it their own. 5 years after the first humans set foot on the Void Harvester, the ship had become something nobody could have imagined. What was once the galaxy's most feared death trap was now a thriving human community with its own culture, traditions, and way of life. Danny Walsh walked through the main corridor, which the colonists had nicknamed Main Street. The walls that used to ooze toxic chemicals now displayed artwork created by the colony's children. The paintings showed scenes of their daily life, kids playing in the gravity wells, families eating dinner together, and gardens growing in impossible places. "Morning, Captain," called out Mary Lewis, the colony's teacher. She was leading a group of children on their daily walk to school. The school was located in what used to be a chamber designed to study the effects of slow death on different species. Now it was filled with desks, books, and the sound of children learning. "Good morning, Mary," Danny replied. "How are the kids doing with their lessons?" "They're amazing," Mary said with a smile. "Yesterday, little Jamie figured out how to predict the gravity shifts 3 hours in advance. And Sarah can hold her breath in the toxic zones for almost 20 minutes now." Danny watched the children walking past him. They moved through the ship with an ease that still amazed him. These kids had been born on the Void Harvester, or had come here when they were very young. To them, this was normal life. They didn't know that most humans couldn't breathe poison air or walk through areas where gravity changed every few hours. He continued his morning walk, checking on the different areas of the ship. The residential section was in what used to be the ship's weapons storage. Families had built comfortable homes in the large spaces, using materials salvaged from the ship's systems. Each family had their own area, but they shared common spaces. For meals and recreation, Captain Walsh called out Roberto Santos, the colony's head chef. "You want to try the new breakfast dish? I've been experimenting with those purple mushrooms that grow in the lower levels." "Are they safe?" Danny asked. "Dr. Martinez tested them last week. They're not only safe, they're really good for you. High in protein and vitamins. Plus, they taste great with eggs." Annie accepted a plate of the food and took a bite. It was delicious, with a flavor unlike anything he had tasted before. "This is excellent, Roberto. You've outdone yourself." "Thanks, Captain. You know, I never thought I'd be grateful to live on a death ship, but the ingredients here are incredible. We've got foods that don't exist anywhere else in the galaxy." Security Chief Greg Thompson approached them, carrying his daily report. "Morning, Captain. All quiet on the perimeter. Though we did detect a small ship passing through the system yesterday, it kept its distance when it saw us." "Probably smart," Danny said. "Word is starting to spread about us. Other species are getting curious about how we're surviving here." "Let them be curious," Greg said. "This ship protects us better than any fortress. Any species that tries to attack us has to deal with the same dangers we've learned to live with. The difference is, we know how to survive here and they don't." Danny nodded. The ship's deadly reputation had become their greatest defense. Pirates and other threats stayed away because they were afraid of the Void Harvester. It was ironic that the ship designed to kill had become their protector. He made his way to the engineering section, where Katie Johnson was working on her latest project. She was trying to convert one of the ship's plasma cannons into a power generator for the new greenhouse levels. "How's it going, Katie?" Danny asked. "Better than expected," Katie replied, not looking up from her work. "These weapon systems are incredibly advanced. Once you figure out how to reverse their purpose, they're perfect for peaceful uses. This cannon will generate enough power to run the greenhouses for months." "Any word from Chris on the computer?" "Systems? He's made incredible progress. We now control about 60% of the ship's systems. The Reaper protocol is still running, but it's basically our pet now. Chris has it convinced that we're part of the ship's original crew." Danny laughed. "A computer that's designed to kill everything, and Chris has it thinking we belong here. The funny thing is, we do belong here now," Katie said. "This ship has become more human than Zephyrian. We've changed it, and it's changed us." Danny's next stop was the medical bay, where Dr. Martinez was examining one of the newer colonists. The man had arrived 3 months ago on a damaged shuttle, half dead from exposure to space. Now he looked healthy and strong. "How's he doing, Tony?" Danny asked. "Perfect adaptation," Dr. Martinez replied. "His body has adjusted to the ship's environment faster than anyone we've seen. I think the longer we live here, the better we get at helping newcomers adapt." "What about the children? Any concerns?" "The opposite of concerns," Dr. Martinez said with excitement. "The children born here are incredible. They can survive in environments that would kill their parents. Their immune systems are stronger, their reflexes are faster, and they seem to have an intuitive understanding of the ship's systems." Danny walked to the observation deck, where he could see the vast space around the ship. The Void Harvester was moving through the galaxy at a steady pace, powered by systems that the colonists had learned to control. They weren't just living on the ship anymore. They were sailing it through the stars. Helen Carter was there, tending to her latest garden project. She had managed to grow earth plants in every section of the ship, creating a green paradise in the middle of a death trap. "Look at this, Danny," Helen said, showing him a wall covered in flowering vines. "These roses are growing in soil that's 50% toxic metals. They're not just surviving, they're thriving. And they're beautiful. How do you do it, Helen? How do you make life grow in a place of death?" "Life finds a way," Helen said simply. "Earth plants are tougher than most people think. They just need someone to believe in them and give them a chance. Just like us." Danny looked out at the stars. "Sometimes I think about what would have happened if we had never come here. If we had found some other way to escape the pirates. We would have missed out on the greatest adventure in human history," Helen said. "We've proven that humans can make a home anywhere, even in the most impossible places." In the evening, Danny attended the weekly community meeting. The colonists gathered in the main hall, which had been converted from a chamber designed to test the effects of fear on different species. Now it was where they made decisions about their future together. "We've received another request from the Galactic Survey Corps," announced Chris Baker. "They want to send a team to study us. They're calling our survival here impossible and unprecedented. What do you think, Captain?" asked Peter Clark, who was now 21 and one of the colony's leaders. "Should we let them come?" Danny looked around the room at the faces of his people. They were happy, healthy, and strong. They had built something beautiful in a place of death. They had proven that humans could adapt to anything. "I think it's time the galaxy learned what humans are really capable of," Danny said. "Let them come. Let them see what we've built here." The meeting ended with the colonists sharing stories and songs. Children played while adults discussed their plans for the future. They talked about expanding to other sections of the ship, about building new gardens, about the babies that would be born in the coming months. As Danny walked back to his quarters, he passed the memorial wall where they honored the few colonists who had died over the years. Not from the ship's dangers, but from old age, accidents, and illness. Normal human problems that had nothing to do with living on a death ship. "We did it," he said quietly to himself. "We really did it." The Void Harvester sailed through the night, carrying its human cargo toward their destiny. They had turned death into life, fear into hope, and the impossible into home. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't just survive in hostile environments. They made those environments better. The news spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours of Commander Rodriguez's report, every major species in the Galactic Council was demanding answers. Humans were living on the Void Harvester, not just surviving, but thriving. It was impossible, and it was happening. Ambassador Rachel Green stood in the center of the Galactic Council chambers, facing representatives from 47 different species. The room was filled with angry voices, shocked whispers, and demands for explanations. The massive holographic display behind her showed images from the Void Harvester. Human children playing in toxic corridors. Families eating meals in rooms that should have been death chambers. Gardens growing in poisoned soil. The Terran representative will explain how humans have violated the natural laws of biology, demanded High Chancellor Vex of the Centauri Science Council. His blue skin was darker than usual, a sign of extreme agitation among his species. No. Species can survive on that ship. We have tested this fact for over a century. With respect, High Chancellor, Rachel replied calmly, humans didn't violate any laws. We simply adapted to a new environment, as we have done throughout our history. Adaptation? Screeched Ambassador Zelek from the Altarian Empire. We lost 800 of our finest soldiers to that ship. They were dead within hours. How do humans succeed where our warriors failed? Rachel looked at the faces around her. She saw fear, anger, and something else, jealousy. These species had all tried to claim the Void Harvester at some point. All had failed. All had lost people to the ship's deadly systems. Now humans had not only survived, but had made the ship their home. Perhaps, Rachel said carefully, humans approach challenges differently than other species. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Species representatives shouted accusations and demands. Some claimed humans had secret technology. Others accused them of genetic manipulation. A few suggested that humans were lying about their survival. Order called out Supreme Arbiter Ken, the ancient leader of the Galactic Council. The Terran representative will present evidence of these claims. Rachel activated the holographic display, showing recordings from Commander Rodriguez's visit. The images were clear. Humans living normally in an environment that should have killed them. Instantly. Children playing games in areas where gravity changed randomly. Adults breathing air that was toxic to every other known species. These recordings were made by the Galactic Survey ship Starbound Endeavor, Rachel explained. They show 247 humans living on the Void Harvester. They have been there for 8 years. Impossible, muttered Dr. Helix from the Vegan Collective. The Zephyrian archives contain detailed records of the ship's lethality. No species has ever survived more than 3 days. Then perhaps the archives are incomplete, Rachel suggested. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Susan Clark was dealing with her own crisis. Her office was filled with reports from every major power in the galaxy. Some were demanding that humans share their survival secret. Others were threatening to take the Void Harvester by force if humans didn't abandon it. "Ma'am," said Captain Eric Davis, her aide, "we've got reports coming in from all over the galaxy. The Rigelian Empire is mobilizing a fleet. The Andromedan Alliance is demanding immediate access to the ship, and the Centauri are calling for a complete investigation of human biology. How many humans are requesting transport to the Void Harvester?" Admiral Clark asked. "Over 10,000 applications in the last 6 hours," Captain Davis replied. "Word is spreading through human space that we've found a way to live on death ships. People are calling it the ultimate frontier." Back on the Void Harvester, Danny Walsh was preparing for the biggest challenge of his life. Dr. Frank Miller had arrived from Earth with a team of scientists, and they were asking questions that made the colonists nervous. "Captain Walsh, Doctor," Miller said, adjusting his environmental suit, "I need to understand exactly how you've survived here. The toxic levels in this air should have killed you within hours. We got sick at first," Danny explained. "Real sick. But we got better. Human bodies are tougher than most people think." Dr. Miller was taking readings with his instruments. "Your blood chemistry is unlike anything I've seen. You've developed resistances to toxins that would kill baseline humans. And your children?" He looked at a group of kids playing nearby. "Their biology is even more advanced." "Advanced how?" Danny asked. "They can process toxins that would kill their parents." Their lung capacity is increased, their muscle density is higher, and their nervous systems react faster to environmental changes. Captain, your children aren't just adapted to this ship. They're evolved for it. The implications were staggering. In just 8 years, humans had begun evolving to survive in one of the galaxy's most hostile environments. The children born on the Void Harvester were becoming something new, something that could thrive in places where no other species could survive. Dr. Miller's report reached Earth within days, and from there, it spread throughout the galaxy. Scientific community was in chaos. Evolution was supposed to take thousands of years, not less than a decade. Yet here was proof that humans could adapt to extreme environments faster than any known species. This changes everything, announced Dr. Patricia Moore, the lead xenobiologist for the Galactic Science Institute. If humans can adapt this quickly to hostile environments, they could potentially colonize planets that are uninhabitable by any other species. The political implications were even more significant. For centuries, the galaxy had been divided among species based on which planets they could colonize. Some species needed cold worlds, others needed high gravity, and still others required specific atmospheric compositions. But if humans could adapt to any environment, they could potentially claim any world. Admiral Kevin Wright of the Galactic Defense Force was reading intelligence reports that made his blood run cold. Several hostile species were planning to capture the Void Harvester and its human inhabitants. They wanted to study human adaptation abilities and possibly use them for their own purposes. "Sir," reported Intelligence Officer Lisa Park, "we've detected fleet movements from at least 6 different species. They're all heading toward the Kepler system." "What's their intent?" Admiral Wright asked. "Some want to capture the ship for study. Others want to eliminate the human colony before they can spread their adaptation abilities. And a few seem to want to use the ship as a weapon." The crisis came to a head when a coalition of alien species arrived at the Void Harvester. The fleet was massive, over 200 ships from 12 different species. They surrounded the human colony ship and demanded immediate surrender. "This is Fleet Admiral Torque of the Regelian Empire," came the transmission. "Humans will immediately evacuate the vessel, known as Void Harvester. Your presence there violates natural law and poses a threat to galactic stability." Danny Walsh stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the massive fleet surrounding them. His people were scared, but they were also angry. This was their home, and they weren't going to give it up without a fight. "This is Captain Danny Walsh of the human colony ship Void Harvester," he transmitted back. "We claim this vessel as our home under the right of habitation. We will not be leaving." "You have no right to claim a ship that kills all life, Admiral," Torque replied. "We demand you share your survival technology or face the consequences." "We don't have any technology," Danny said. "We just refuse to die." The standoff lasted for hours. The alien fleet demanded that humans either leave the ship or submit to scientific study. The humans refused both options. Tensions rose as more ships arrived, and it became clear that this was more than a diplomatic crisis. It was a test of whether humans had the right to make homes in impossible places. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't just adapt to hostile environments. They defended them. Back on Earth, Rachel Green was working frantically to prevent a galactic war. The Galactic Council was split between species that wanted to study humans and those that wanted to eliminate them. The debate raged for hours, with no clear resolution. "The humans have proven something that challenges our understanding of biology," argued Dr. Helix. "They must be studied for the benefit of all species." "They have proven they are a threat to the established order," countered High Chancellor Vex. "If humans can live anywhere, they could claim any planet. This cannot be allowed." The fate of the human colony, and possibly the future of human expansion into space, hung in the balance. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were more than just another species. They were survivors, adapters, and home builders who refused to accept that any place was too dangerous to live. The Void Harvester sailed through space, surrounded by enemies, but protected by the very dangers that had once made it a ship of death. The humans inside were ready to defend their home, using the ship's own deadly systems as their weapons. The galaxy was about to discover that humans didn't just survive in death ships. They turned them into fortresses. The moment of truth came when Fleet Admiral Torque lost patience with the human refusal to surrender. His massive battleship moved closer to the Void Harvester, weapons charging with deadly energy. The alien coalition had decided to take the ship by force, believing that humans could not possibly defend themselves against such overwhelming numbers. "All human vessels, this is your final warning," Admiral Torque broadcast. "Evacuate immediately, or we will board your ship and remove you by force." Danny Walsh stood on the bridge of the Void Harvester, surrounded by his senior staff. Katie Johnson was at the engineering station, her fingers dancing over controls that had once been designed to kill. Chris Baker was at the navigation console, ready to pilot their home through whatever came next. Security Chief Greg Thompson was coordinating with teams throughout the ship. "They don't understand, do they?" Danny said quietly. "This isn't just our ship anymore. It's our home. And humans will fight to defend their homes." "Sir," said Katie, "I've got full control of the ship's weapon systems. The Reaper Protocol is standing by to defend us. It considers us part of the ship now, so any attack on us is an attack on the ship itself." Danny nodded. The irony wasn't lost on him. The computer system designed to kill intruders was now ready to protect the humans who had become its family. "Open a channel to the fleet," Danny ordered. "Channel open, sir." "Admiral Torque, this is Captain Walsh. You're making a mistake. This ship isn't just our home. It's our protector. You're about to attack a vessel that has killed thousands of your people over the centuries. The only difference is we know how to survive here, and you don't." "Your threats are meaningless, human," Admiral Torque replied. "We have 200 ships. You have one old death trap." "That's where you're wrong," Danny said with a smile. "We don't have one ship. We are the ship." The first alien vessel to approach the Void Harvester was a Centauri boarding craft carrying 50 elite soldiers. They had studied the ship's schematics and believed they could avoid its deadliest areas. They were wrong. The moment the craft docked, the ship's automated systems activated. Toxic gas flooded the docking bay. Gravity fields shifted, throwing the soldiers against walls with bone-crushing force. The temperature spiked to levels that would cook most species alive. But the human children who lived in that section of the ship watched through protected windows, completely safe in their environmental suits that they wore like normal clothes. To them, this was just another day on their home ship. "Boarding craft 1 is not responding," reported one of Admiral Torque's officers. "All life signs have ceased. Send in boarding craft 2 and 3, Admiral Torque ordered. "Use different docking points." A second wave of boarders met the same fate. The ship's defenses, now controlled by humans who understood their patterns, turned the Void Harvester into an impregnable fortress. Each alien team that tried to board was eliminated by the very systems that the humans had learned to live with. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Parker was coordinating the human defense from the ship's security center. He wasn't fighting the aliens directly. Instead, he was using the ship's own deadly environment as his weapon. "Alien team approaching Section 7, reported one of his assistants. "They're trying to cut through the hull." "Route them through the gravity maze," Sam ordered. "Then activate the neural disruptors in that corridor." The aliens cut through the hull and entered the ship, only to find themselves in a corridor where Gravity changed direction every few seconds. As they struggled to maintain their footing, devices that had once been used to torture prisoners now scrambled their nervous systems. They were unconscious within minutes. Meanwhile, the children of the Void Harvester were treating the invasion like an exciting game. Peter Clark, now a young man, was leading a group of teenagers through the ship's maintenance tunnels. They were using their intimate knowledge of the ship to outmaneuver any aliens who managed to survive the initial defenses. "There's a group of Altarians trying to reach the bridge," Peter reported over his communicator. "They're using environmental suits and moving through the safe corridors." "Let them get to Section 12, Sam replied. "Then seal the exits and activate the atmosphere processors." The Altarian soldiers found themselves trapped in a chamber that slowly filled with air. That was toxic to their species, but harmless. To humans, they had no choice but to retreat or die. Back in space, Admiral Torque was watching his invasion force disappear into the Void Harvester. Dozens of boarding parties had entered the ship, but none had reported back. His sensors showed that the ship's defenses were more active than they had been in over a century. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "we're detecting massive energy buildups throughout the target vessel. It appears to be charging weapon systems that we didn't know existed." "Impossible," Admiral Torque said. "That ship has been dead for decades. Not dead, sir, sleeping, and now it's awake." The Void Harvester's weapon systems came online one by one. Plasma cannons that had been converted to power generators were quickly returned to their original purpose. Missile launchers that had been used for transportation were loaded with projectiles that could punch through the strongest alien shields. But the most terrifying weapon was the ship itself. Katie Johnson had discovered that the Void Harvester could extend its deadly environmental effects beyond its hull. The space around the ship began to fill with the same toxic particles that filled its corridors. "Sir, our shields are being corroded by some kind of toxic field," reported an officer on Admiral Torque's flagship. "Hull integrity is decreasing rapidly." Admiral Torque watched in horror as his mighty fleet began to suffer the same fate as every other force that had tried to claim the Void Harvester. His ships were being poisoned by space itself. "All ships retreat to safe distance," he ordered. "Maintain blockade, but do not approach the target vessel." On Earth, Admiral Susan Clark was receiving reports of the battle. The human colony hadn't just survived the alien assault. They had turned it into a complete defeat for the attacking fleet. "Ma'am," reported Captain Eric Davis, "the alien coalition is requesting emergency mediation through the Galactic Council. They're claiming that humans have turned the Void Harvester into a weapon of mass destruction." "Have we?" Admiral Clark asked. "No, ma'am. We've just learned to live with it. The aliens attacked a ship they didn't understand, and it defended itself the same way it always has. The only difference is that this time it had humans helping it." The Galactic Council emergency session was unlike anything in the organization's history. Ambassador Rachel Green stood before representatives who were shocked, frightened, and amazed by what humans had accomplished. "The humans have weaponized a death ship," accused High Chancellor Vex. "They must be stopped before they create more such vessels." "The humans didn't weaponize anything," Rachel replied calmly. "They simply learned to live in harmony with a ship that your species have always treated as an enemy. The Void Harvester defended itself, as it always has. The difference is that this time there were beings aboard who understood how to work with it instead of against it." Dr. Frank Miller's report had reached the Council, and its findings were revolutionary. "The humans haven't just adapted to the ship," he explained to the assembled representatives. "They've formed a symbiotic relationship with it. The ship protects them, and they maintain and control its systems. It's the first case of successful integration between a biological species and a Zephyrian death ship. Supreme Arbiter Ken called FOR order as the chamber erupted in debate. Some species demanded that humans be forced to leave the ship. Others wanted to study the relationship between humans and the vessel. A few were already making plans to find their own death ships to colonize. The Galactic Council will vote on the human claim to the vessel, Supreme Arbiter Ken announced. All those in favor of recognizing human sovereignty over the Void Harvester? The vote was closer than Rachel had hoped, but humans won by a narrow margin. The Void Harvester was officially recognized as a human colony ship with all the rights and protections that status provided. 6 months later, Danny Walsh stood in the ship's observation deck, watching as another human transport arrived. Word had spread throughout human space about the colony's success, and hundreds of families were requesting permission to join them. "Captain," said Helen Carter, who was now the ship's chief administrator, "we've received applications from over 5,000 humans who want to live here. And that's not counting the requests from other species." "Other species?" Danny asked, surprised. "Apparently, some aliens think that if humans can survive here, maybe they can learn to do it too. We've got requests from Centauri scientists, Altarian, explorers, and even a few Regelians who want to study our adaptation methods." Danny laughed. "A year ago, they wanted to kill us or capture us. Now they want to join us." The colony had grown to over 400 humans, with more arriving every month. The children born on the ship were now young adults, perfectly adapted to their unique environment. They were already talking about exploring other death ships, other impossible places where humans might make their homes. Dr. Tony Martinez had documented the changes in the human colonists. After 8 years on the Void Harvester, they were no longer quite the same species that had arrived. They were stronger, more race,